that great coffee we had? Yeah, hey, very cool. You know, just even seeing a video like that, you look into that space and go, you don't know the impact that you have. I was a school teacher as part of my professional background, and I was teaching like the prep classes for a season, and I went back to the school graduation to meet my prep kids, and actually it just had boys, so in that stage, so I took the boys and I went to their graduation, and one of the guys came up to me and he says, "Oh, Mrs. S," he said, "it's really good that you're here." He goes, "You're the best teacher ever." And I go, yeah, my humble way of going, yeah, well, tell me why. Tell me why. And he said, because, and I waited, because you taught me how to read, or you taught me how to write, and you helped me start school, my amazing education. He said, you played on the slide with us. I'm going, is that it? He goes, yeah, you're the best ever. And indeed, what motivated that was that I hated yard duty. So I said to the kids, if you've got an issue, come find me, I'm on the slide. And we would play. And that just became what we did. But interestingly enough, God taught me an important thing then, is that sometimes the things that we think we are imparting, something different is being grabbed hold of. We don't always know what it is that someone will take hold of. So when you talk about legacy and things like this in ministry, some of the things that we're intending to do, there's byproducts of that are being taken hold of and grabbed hold of. And kids are putting that into the fabric of who they are becoming. And I share that to remind us all that we are being watched, not in a spooky, creepy way, but the fact is that you are always leading. Whenever you stand up in front of kids, whenever you hang out with them, whether you're at Macca's or at church, you are leading. You are leading, you are leading, you are leading. You're taking them somewhere. You are being watched. And kids are trying to decide this very thing. Does this matter or not? Is this real or is it not? And they can say it in a whole lot of crass ways, but that's what they're just trying to work it out. They want authenticity. They want real, they don't want right. Give them authentic, because they sniff out crap, if you're allowed to say that in the space. I guess I have. But you know, they sniff it out. And the moment they find that crack, they'll go, well, that's it, I knew this God stuff wasn't real. Now, that puts the pressure on us a little bit. But I think it puts a pressure on us not to have the right face, but to have the right intent. And go, we're actually in this as a learner. We're shoulder to shoulder. It's like this, if we went to the beach, I like to play this game. I like you to get your feet wet without me realising I'm putting you in the water. Now, if we went up to the water, I could try and push you, but you'd push me back, and we could have a tussle. But if we're walking along, chatting, and I'm looking ahead, you're looking ahead, I can just slowly walk on at an angle and get your feet wet before you even notice it. That's what I think about leadership is influence, and I call it shoulder to shoulder. Coming alongside, you can influence when others don't think you are influencing, because you have an impact to make. Well, when we're leading a generation, we want to be thinking about some of these things that we've been talking about in the first session. I'm just going to go, oops. I want to show you two pictures. Okay, great. When we're thinking about things that matter, alignment, what we do every day matters. Now, if you have a look at these road cones, these are two pictures of road cones. Now, one we laugh at, and I just think, wouldn't that be so cool? I wish I had done that, but I hadn't, but I'd like to. But it's a thing, isn't it? It's a thing that people put road cones in weird places, on top of trees and in different areas. And this tree is a whole lot of road cones. They are still road cones. But they're not aligned and they're not in the right place. So they're not doing what they were intended to do. The other picture was actually of road cones lined up. They are road cones, the same as the other picture, but they are in the right place. They are communicating a message and directing traffic in a safe way. Our churches can be like this: chaos or aligned. Now, we can think it's laughter a little bit and go, that's our church culture. But to be honest, it's not okay for us not to be aligned as a church. Aligned in our mission, aligned to actually bring a new generation into an understanding of who God is. And it's not about being loyal to our denomination. It's not about just doing things that people have always done and just sitting in the way we've always done it. I love to sit in the seat that somebody else normally sits in. I think it's hilarious. And when I visit on a Sunday, I find out where's the do not sit seat. And I go sit there and go. I had one situation when I was in Hawaii. I got to the conference there, it was great. And I went into this church, pretty well-known church, and I sat in this place and this lady comes up to me and she said, "That's my seat." And I said, "But I'm sitting here." I thought, I'm going to play with you, but she said, "That's my seat." And I'm going, "Well, you can sit next to me if you like." And she said, "No, that is my seat." And I'm going, "All right then, I'll sit next to you." So I sort of moved over one. She didn't notice I had a microphone on and that I was the speaker. And when you get up to speak, she sort of, it looks a little bit funny like that. And I'm going, "I enjoyed sitting next to you in your seat." You know, the thing of that sometimes is putting that mirror up to people and going, hang on a minute, is this about you or is this about God? Which way up is your mould? Because if it's all about you, and we have those moments and we have those tendencies, but these are what we call blind spots. Now, this is the advantage of sitting in a training thing like this today, is that you can actually help people with blind spots. They're blind spots because they're blind to them. And if you have to have a conversation with somebody about a blind spot, just help them understand it's not their fault they can't see it. It's your fault if you don't point it out. It's an observation. Because if we want to get better at leading the next generation, we have to lead with honesty. And we have to lead with authenticity. And authenticity means when I look to the left and to the right, I want you to win as a leader. When I look above to the leaders who I'm leading under and to those who I am leading, I want to lead with authenticity. I'm not perfect, but I am wanting to do the best job that I can. So I want to just put in this session some things about renters and owners and how do we actually move people into a place where they can be really productive in what they do. Because if we let people away with stuff, then it's actually not helping them grow. So this is a growth area. So you'll be able to think about this for yourself, but think about this for those you lead alongside. And Jade made a really important point before that. It doesn't matter where you fit in the organisational chart of your leadership. There's staff that you can learn and you need a voice. You don't have to be what I call the big L leader in order to be the one that makes the calls. In fact, the big L leader should not be making all the calls. In fact, I believe that should be that next tier down, 97% of the leadership calls should be made in collaboration at that level. Otherwise you get what the leader says and only what we'll do what the leader says. The problem with that is the leader has got lots of creativity but not enough to lead a ministry no matter what size it is. We need every voice in there. Every voice is valid. I want you to think that I want you to even write that down. Every voice is valid. And if you think today you're a person that doesn't have a valid voice, put your name in it and go, Margaret's voice is valid. I often write Margaret's voice is loud, but that's okay. I would often set it crossway. They can hear me and then they can see me. Okay. We can have a fulfilled leader or a frustrated volunteer. We can have this tension between two. So how do we fulfill someone in their leadership that they walk out of a ministry experience going, I received more than I gave? Or you get a frustrated volunteer that says, glad that week's over. Oh my goodness, 6 days to the next one. You know, there's this tension, but every week matters, and it's not about the big things every week. I think it's the little things. It's like you can remember perhaps a great birthday party you've had or a meal you went out to and you go, that was really great. But that's a standalone. You often forget what you had for breakfast, lunch and dinner every day. Some of you have forgotten what you had for breakfast already, or you perhaps didn't have time for it. But you forget those little things, but without that you wouldn't live. So the point for us in leadership is that it's the little things we do intentionally all the time that make that biggest difference. You can go big event to big event. I actually think we're moving away from big event things in society to more personalised. You look at your phones and the apps that you've got on your phone will be different to mine. My screen usage will be different to yours because it's all personalised. And you don't need me to tell you that advertisers and marketers, Google do this all the time. You can weight the searches that people have. They pick up this, you've searched that, and then suddenly you've got ads for it coming in. Those analytics are part of our life, but we can actually learn about leadership from that and go, what we do every week matters. So for us, you see, we need to understand that what you care about determines what you can be trusted with. The previous session we were saying what you see determines what you do. What you care about determines what you can be trusted with. If you don't care about preschoolers, don't work with preschoolers. That's okay. Leave it to somebody who cares about them. If you don't care about doing administration, name tags, don't be in charge of it. I'm one that would say, leave a pen and paper out, write your name tag, come on in. If I'm really honest with you, I know the importance of it, so I wouldn't do it from the knowledge side. But my thing is, let's wing it. Let's just get in there and do it. And I love large group time. And so I could be up here during large group time and you could be a small group leader going, when do we get to small group? When do we get to small group? See, what we have to realise is that what we're passionate about, what we care about determines what we can be trusted with, but we have to do it in connection with everybody else. So I learned that every minute I went over actually robbed the small group leader of an opportunity. But not only the time, it actually robbed them of their passion, because when I went over, I was just annoying them. Now, I don't know whether any of you have the situation where you have the children out and you've got a service going on, and then the parents come in, or the ministry time finishes when the auditorium with adults in it finishes. Don't put up with that. I'm going to stir the pot here. If they're early, then come on, you can ask the parents to wait because you're not quite done yet. You know how I do that? Oh, your children are praying right now? You don't want to interrupt that, do you? And parents, oh, no, we'll wait. It's that sort of thing. The reason that I want to put some of these things out to you is if you care about it, you can be trusted with it, but you've got to have a voice to allow that value to be seen by others. They won't care about it the same way you will. Your senior pastor will never care about your ministry the way you do because you're in charge of that ministry. God's entrusted you with that. If it was your senior pastor's job to care about it the same way, they would be in charge of that. They have the overall view, absolutely. I'm for senior pastors. I'm married to one, so that has to be the case. No, the fact is that we need to think of ourselves as owning our area of passion that God has said, I'm entrusting you to this. When it comes to the next generation, I believe God's put it so much on my heart that I don't want to do big people stuff. I want to make sure that our young people are on a trajectory that leads them to Jesus. And I want to make sure they intersect with the church, so they integrate in what that looks like. I've got to be thinking about that space. But I want to be trusted with a thing that God has allowed me to have that passion with. Now, in order to do that well, I have to be an owner. We have renters and owners in our ministries, and they look very differently. Jesus met up with this guy who we know in the scriptures called a rich young ruler. From all we can tell, he lived a very upright life. He was doing things, ticked all the boxes, looked great, but had a heart to know, what must I do to inherit eternal life? How can I have that which you're promising beyond? And Jesus had this conversation with him and said to him, actually, I want you to go and sell all you have. Now, he had affirmed all the good things that this guy had done, but this is what I want you to go and do. And there was this moment when I kind of want to see Jesus looking at this man eye to eye, and he realized this man couldn't do it. I can't do that. Sorry, Jesus, I want everything, but I can't do this. And Jesus didn't change the parameters. He didn't say, oh, well, if you can't do that, then I'm just going to, I'll alter my ask for you and see, will that be all right? Just sell half of it. Is that okay? A third of it? A quarter of it? One item? And Jesus said, this is what's required of you. And we see the narrative continue where this man walked away sad, and so did Jesus, because he couldn't pay the price. Paying the price in volunteering is actually stepping into that ownership space. I'm going to own this. I'm going to invest in this. This ministry will cost me. It will cost me relationally, because I can't go out and do the things that I want to do perhaps with other people. But I've got other time in the week I can do that. It will cost me financially because I've lost the receipt and I can't get the reimbursement without it. Oh, you go, I can't be bothered doing all of that. Yes, I'm just going to buy it. It'll cost me of my time and energy on that time when I don't want to be out Friday night, I want to go home, or I don't want to come out early on a Sunday morning to set up the room and vacuum again after the youth have been in the room Friday night. No, it'll cost me. That's a price worth paying. It's not, if it's actually costing you way too much, then we've got to ask, is Jesus actually asking you to do that? What's Jesus asking of you? Then this situation with this rich young ruler, Jesus went to the heart space. It wasn't about the things, it was about the man's heart. So when we're talking about renters and owners, we're actually talking about the heart space. Are you going to step in and own this with a heart of an owner? Or are you going to sit on the fringe and just go, I'll help, or I might not, or I will, or I won't. I might come, but I might not. See, those are the sort of things that don't help grow a ministry or a person, or allow you to be a fulfilled leader. You become a frustrated volunteer. And when you're a frustrated volunteer, you may as well stay home. Here's the things for a renter. A renter gives just what you ask for. You see problems for you to solve and just serves week by week. When we were living here, we were renters, and it was great because I could ring up and go, the door's broken, can you come fix it? Oh, you need to take notice of this, or this needs doing. And then my job was done. They had to organise everything and get it done. But with my own home, that was a different story. There was no 0800 or 1800 number to ring to say someone come fix it. I had to fix it. I had a different mindset when it came to my own place. So for those of you who are renting, you know what it's like to be a renter. But you see, what we find in a ministry situation is those are the renters are the people that says, you need to fix this to the big L leader. The kids aren't happy, you need to fix this. Oh, this room wasn't clean, you need to fix this. Or somebody's to blame. We're good at blaming. But are we good at picking up the vacuum and doing it ourselves? Are we good at just going, oh, this is something that I want to own. This is my space that I want to make sure that the kids come into and feel welcome. You know, I hate it when kids walk into a room and they see that things may be out but not ready. Like, I'm even as fussy as this, that everything, the Legos have got to be tipped out of the container onto the floor, which says, welcome, come play with me. I don't like containers stacked up because that says I've got to ask, should I touch? I want the kids to walk in and go with big signage that's invisible saying, touch me, play with me, do whatever you want. You know, I want to be in that space. But that takes an owner to come in and open that up and to spread it out. I had one ministry leader say to me, well, what say if they don't play with it? You've got it out for nothing. I go, no, I've never got it out for nothing. I've got it out to say welcome. And that's true for our youth environments too. What happens when our youth first come in? Now, I brought a change in our youth ministry because they would hang out and chat. Well, that's fine if you're an extrovert and if you know where to go and you know someone. But if you don't know anybody, that's a very scary space to be in. So say if there were some activities you could do. You maybe want to shoot a basketball hoop. You may want to play a video game. You may want to let's put some things out so when young people come in, there's something they can do until they feel confident to talk to someone next to them. You see, it's all about that scaffolding. A renter will say the kids can get it out themselves, or let's just do a small amount. But an owner will calculate it and go, okay, if you have 5 kids playing at that game, 4 at that, 2 there, how many kids do I normally get? Have I got enough equipment out? Oh, then I'll get 2 more things out just because I can. You see, when you're a renter, you ask someone else to solve the problem for you. But an owner will look differently at that. Some of you have renters serving on your team who don't let you know that they're not going to be here. When I'm counting on a team to come in, and I've told you before, I don't roster, it's rhythm. If it's your week to be there, then I expect you to be there. If you're not going to be for some reason, I don't expect to find that out on social media when I find you've been out with some other friends, because that's not good. I expect you to be there. And I used to make my team ring me, actually, because a text was way too easy. Oh, not feeling well. Yeah, what time did you go to bed? That's the mother factor. Maybe you wouldn't go that far. But they will serve week to week, and you don't know whether they're in or whether they're out. Oh, I'm doing something differently this week. I'm going out with my mates, so I won't be able to do that. Or I'm involved with something else this week. Every time you do that, you're letting your kids down. I have a high bar for volunteers because it's not just about volunteering, it's about the life of a young person. I remember actually it was this very young guy who's now in ministry. He said to me one time, his small group leader had finished up, and I go, hey mate, I'm going to get you another small group leader. You won't be without a small group leader. He'll go, don't get me a guy. I go, what? He was 13 at the time. And I said, what? Why shouldn't I get another guy? Of course I'll get you a guy. He said, nah, every man that I've ever trusted's walked out on me. And I stopped and thinking, I almost said something going, no, I'm thinking, no, Margaret, zip it. His dad had grandparents, didn't have much to do with him, mum trying to parent alone, and yet another leader had walked out saying, oh, I haven't got the time to do this anymore. That really changed the way I saw ministry and changed the ask. I then wanted to recruit owners. Now, there are times you can't be there. Absolutely, we know that. And there are times that you have to transition and move. That's normal life. But your default setting should be an owner of going, I want to be with you until the pain stops. I can't solve it, but I'm going to journey with you. I'm going to be here whether you're here or not. And I'm going to be here early enough to race you to church so that when you walk in, you see that I'm here. And when you lock eyes with me, you know that I'm waiting for you. See, that is an owner. You see, an owner anticipates what could be done. And an owner builds memories. They don't just go through the list of what we have to do in small group time. An owner will try and create an environment that actually serves a young person, has an end in mind, going, it's not just about today, but it's about the long-term journey. And I'll journey with you. If you're up one day and down the next, I'm going to be consistent, even when you're not. See, that's the mark of an owner. Now, you'll know owners. You might be saying to yourself right now, I'm an owner. Well done. How do you reproduce your DNA in the likes of others? Because you want them to understand what it means to own a ministry. Because it's only as you own it will you be fulfilled in your ministry. You see, there's 5 things that an owner needs, I believe. First one I want to show you this is an owner needs to really be very clear on the why they're doing what they're doing. Simon Sinek is a communicator in the secular market, and if you listen to TED Talks, that's one you should go for, is the golden circle. Simon is able to help us see why the why is so important. That's the anchor to everything that we do. Now, when you've been serving for a long time, the what and the how change. Because how we communicate, like we're not still doing flannel graph unless we're doing a retro day and things like that. So what you do, the way you communicate is differently. Your illustrations communicate differently. Your songs. I had somebody say to me the other day, "Oh, I've got the song, can we use it in our kids ministry?" I'm going, "What is it?" And they told me. I'm going, "Nah. Nah." And she said, "Oh, it was so good when I was growing up. I want to teach it." And I want to go, "Nah." Okay, the reason I'm saying no is not that song was no good. It's no longer relevant to our kids, and it doesn't sound like they would hear on the radio. It's not what they're going to get into. Sorry. I know it's important to you. Go and sing it tonight when you're going to bed and know that's important. You know, I mean, it's really in my empathetic nature. I'm going, no, there's no way. And there are people that will come up to you with good ideas and going, "Oh, this worked for me." Now that gives me an insight into them as a leader. Not that they can't choose music, they can't, but what matters to them. What matters to them. So I take a note about them as a leader, but they're not going to do that in my ministry. Because the ministry is about something way bigger than that. And to understand that the why is the thing that anchors us, the what and the how will always change. I've left the Crossway ministry as a staff member. What they change and the what and the how, I said, do whatever. Don't lose sight of the why. And for me, the why came down to a meaningful conversation that points heads and hearts towards Jesus. That's what we want to do. At the bottom line, the clear win for us is a meaningful conversation that points heads and hearts towards Jesus. It may be about a dead bird. It may be about something big in life. It may be something that I've just changed the colour that I like, or a friend doesn't want to be my friend anymore. That sort of thing. It's still meaningful, but it's pointing towards Jesus. That becomes the why. And then our methodology around that changes. So know why you do what you do. Give you an insight. I've even written it down for me, why I do what I do. Because even in the number of years that I've been serving, I still need reminding sometimes, why am I doing this again? And sometimes it feels like when you move from one area to the next, it's like a demotion. That's your stuff to deal with. It's my stuff to deal with. The why is what God's placed in me, that legacy that He's developing to come through me to change the world around me. So be very clear on the why. Very few organisations and churches are classic in this that will go after the why before they do the what and the how. They'll tell you how this functions, how we're going to do this. So when I'm actually bringing on a new volunteer into our ministry, I want to know why they want to serve. What's the why for you? And I want to share with why I serve. Because people will serve for different reasons. Before I came to Crossway, they brought on a fourth service. And so what I was told then is, well, it's fine, we've got 100, Dale was saying there's got 140 volunteers or something that have signed up to, so you're going to have all the volunteers you need. And I said, that's great, I'll have them for about a year. And he's going, oh, no. I go, no. I'll have them for about a year because they're serving because you've asked. They're serving because of a need. And that's okay. I'm going to manage my expectations around that. But I'm wanting people that are serving because they're passionate about young people. And then I actually want to serve with people who have a vision for what could be. But the number of people, think of the concentric circles, if you change the why to put the word vision, a few people in your orb of influence will have that vision like you do. And if you have a brand new volunteer coming in, you need to move them towards where you are, but they'll be serving for a very different reason. But help them understand their why and be content with, well, okay, that's where they're at. But you can still be an owner and serve because you actually want to serve the local church. So for us to understand why we serve and why others serve, that helps us open up the whole idea about the renter and the owner. If you know why they serve, then you know where to start, because one size doesn't fit all. And if you look at every volunteer the same, you're missing something. You want to see their name and you want to see their story. What's their name and what's their story? Because how you will react with their story is very, very different for each person. And that to me is an exciting part. It's also a challenging part. Well, that leads me to this one, that everyone needs a role that fits. If you have somebody that offers you a certain amount, say a time, and say, look, I can serve once a month, you don't put them in as a small group leader, because it doesn't match with what you know is true. Do you say, oh, well, sorry, go and serve in the car park, or go and serve somewhere else? Maybe, but if you're wise, I think you'll go, well, tell me about what you're passionate about, why do you want to serve, and let's find a role that fits. If you are a renter, then you actually won't find that fit where you can just go, okay, I'm going to own this space. I'm going to be feeling like it's like a jacket that works well with me. There'll always be the rub. It's, oh, I can't do this or I won't do that. Just like, I mean, it's dumb. You can't put a picture up in a rental property. And so you're going, oh man, you've got to ask for permission. You actually want people that will take initiative. So when you've got a role that fits, you're more likely to be an owner because you are contributing something into that. If I directed you and said, I want you to do this, and everything that you did, I told you what to do, you would just deliver what I told you to do, and then we'd have a good team. We wouldn't have a good team. You'd get tired of doing what I asked you to do. But I said, what will you own? What space will be yours? Oh, that changes things. And it can be, going back to the activities when you first walk in the room, I gave it to some young people to own. And I said, you know what kids like to play with. You know what your peers love to connect with. I want you to get some stuff out that your peers will engage with. Now, I did that for our youth ministry, and they brought out the giant Connect 4, and I'm going, you guys aren't going to play that. That's for kids. They played it very competitively, I'll tell you. They were the ones who chose what their peers would actually get involved with. They owned that. You see, that's the difference. They knew more than I knew, because when they have a role that fits as a volunteer, they actually know what's expected, but they've got wiggle room to do stuff in it. And that's what you need to provide for everyone, to know what role fits for them. They need a clear win. How do you know whether you'll be successful or not? All of us like to be successful, but if we don't have a parameter to know, well, that was a win, that wasn't, how do we even do that? It's like when they get kids who play soccer and everyone gets a trophy, or everyone gets their time to get, a certificate, and going, yeah, whatever. It's just technical. It's not actually acknowledging what the clear win was, or saying you're awesome to somebody. Why? What is it that makes you say that? Give me detail. Don't just say on the surface. Actually say, when you do this, this is what I notice. I was actually snapping one of our leaders the other day. I was telling her, you've got a great connection with your small group. And she was going, oh yeah. She couldn't see it. So I pulled out my camera. I was watching on my phone. I was watching her with one of her kids and quietly pretended I was actually looking at something and took a photo. And managed to grab hold of this little person looking up at her as if she was saying just something absolute gold. And I just said to her, Eva, this is you. You do this with your kids. They love you. They listen to what you say because they matter when they're in your presence. I said, you are Jesus to them. That is a clear win for her. She knows what it is to win. A leader wins when they're not sitting there reading their notes going, oh, this is what you have to do in a small group. I mean, that doesn't work. It's about relationship. So if you want to know what a win is, I want to show you what a win is, because I want you to actually lead out of who you are, not what I've told you to do. Follow my guideline because we've got a plan that we're working on. But when you have a role that fits and a clear win, you actually feel successful. But you also know on those days when you've had the kids climbing up the wall or things don't go the way you planned, you're still winning because you turned up and you're consistent. But how do you get reminded of that? When I ask a leader, if I'm the big L leader there, and I ask people, did you have a good day? Everyone will say yes. And I'm going, but I saw your small group. That wasn't going well. Because they want me to feel, they want to portray to me that they feel that they're winning, that it was a good thing, it was a good day. They don't want to be honest. But where do you have that side-by-side, shoulder-to-shoulder conversation to go, that was hard. That was really hard today. I don't think I won. I don't think I got that meaningful conversation at all. You need someone next to you that will say, you know what, there's another week. You were there for them. You actually did part of it. They can help you see what you can't see. So you need a clear win. I articulate the wins for people, and I like to reward the win. But I discovered that if I put a big jar of chocolate on the table after we've talked and say, this is the what we're going to do today. Here's the briefing part of it. We call it 30 before, because that way you don't have to think, what time do I have to be there? I've got to be there 30 before, and it's written 30B4. And so 30 before every time you gather. And I said, if you're a winner today, then you can reward yourself with chocolate. And I thought they're just going to come in and grab chocolate. But what I watched was they come up and go, yep, no, I think I won today. And then they'd talk about that amongst themselves, and they'd find that someone said, well, I didn't win, so I can't get to have chocolate. And you'd find their peers would remind them of what was important, and then they could enjoy the chocolate as well. It was nothing to do with the chocolate. It was all about the evaluation. If you don't evaluate, if you don't know what a win is, how do you know whether it's worth doing it again? So you've got to know what a win is, and be assured that when you step forward to volunteer as an owner, you are taking progress for the kingdom, and it looks differently for every child and every young person. See, here's one of this invitation challenge matrix. And so what I want you to see with that is that sometimes we let people away without that goal of the win. And we just sort of say, oh, turning up is a win. Turning up and being a warm body isn't a win. Turning up and being consistent is. There's a difference. Now, if you have high invitation and you say, come be part of our ministry, it's really, really great, and these are the things, and we have a very low challenge, so we're not asking you to do anything, we're not asking you to sacrifice too much, we say, well, come once a month if you want to, you get a very cozy volunteer. You get cozy in that, and you become very, I'll be in, I'll be out. It doesn't actually take your ministry anywhere. You can have a low challenge and a low invitation. I'll come if you want, we're going to be here. And people become apathetic. They actually forget they're about kingdom stuff. See, what we do on the weekend or during the week with our young people, with our families in our local church, has a kingdom impact. It's eternal. It's not just now. So that's why we need that legacy lens, because it's eternal. We're about something that's far more important than passing a school exam. We're about a future, a hope that God's told us every one of his children have, but we've got to help them discover it. If you have that high challenge, but a very low invitation, here's what you need to do. You need to get all of this, you're in charge of this room, and then you back off and let this person flounder. They get discouraged very, very quickly because you're not with them. You're not journeying with them. Everyone needs someone to be a buddy in ministry. Who's helping you? And I think of the 4 friends who brought their friend to Jesus. That friend couldn't have got there without 4 of them. You try doing it with 2 of them. It comes a very heavy load. But 4 people were able to take a corner of the blanket each and bring their friend to Jesus. There's some days I need people to bring me to Jesus because I feel paralyzed by the lens that I'm looking through. And that's just life. But that's why God calls us to work in collaboration. If we have high invitation and high challenge, you're going to be empowered. This ministry is going to cost you. This will cost you something to serve in our team, but you'll see things that you'll never see anywhere else. My Big Step Sunday thing. I've seen things in that space that have blown me away, but it's cost me to pull that off but the wins are huge. So we're aiming for that empowered zone. High invitation, be part of our team, high challenge. You're not just here as a renter, you're an owner. So you need a voice. You need to be empowered, because when you are bringing your best game in there, we all win. A leader needs a development plan. Every volunteer has a development plan. Now, that's not a one big page thing. It could be just a sentence. How are you going to lead differently next week? At the end of our ministry hour, we have Hang 10, and that means you hang out back for 10 minutes. So just in case you're not sure how many, 10. Hang for 10. And what you do is you connect with somebody else who's a peer, and they're all in cluster groups. So me as our leader does not take these groups, because remember, people won't tell me the truth. They'll tell me what I think I need to hear or want to hear. They will actually just say what worked really well today in the whole ministry, what worked well. And they'll have a conversation. Then they'll ask this personal question: how will you lead differently? Now, it might be you've had a really great day and you say, I enjoyed doing this. This question that I asked really unlocked a great conversation. I'm going to lead differently because of that win. Maybe you weren't prepared this week. Maybe there was things going on and you're going, well, I'm going to lead differently next week because of this. Because that's the development plan. How are you going to grow? Because if you don't grow, you'll go. Because the thing that drives us is purpose. And if we have purpose and we have potential, we're stepping forward. If we're doing the same old, we're still singing the songs we sung 30 years ago and hoping that they connect with kids, and they don't. So we need a development plan. How are you developing? How are your volunteers developing? And are you having that conversation with them? It doesn't matter what age they are, they can still develop. They need a voice that's heard. If you are asking people to be an owner, when do they have input into your ministry? I was doing a lot of small group planning and writing it all out for people. Then I had this idea of, what if I invited people to just join me in a planning session? I didn't say everyone had to come. I just said, hey, there's going to be pizza, and that gets some people straight away. Come in, and we're going to be talking about what we're doing in the next 6 weeks, or 6 weeks from now. But I'd love input, and we're going to just sit around in different grade levels, and we're going to talk about what it would be like for a small group leader, what they need to do in that space to help apply the message. It's not about the activity. The activity is a vehicle to get the conversation. And I was surprised how many people turned up. I'm going, wow, this is cool. They didn't have to come each time. They could come, but a voice was coming out. And then I'd hear, well, that actually game that you use is dumb. And I go, well, tell me what you think, and help me actually lead better. I led better when I was listening to our owners in the ministry. And some people moved from renter to owner when they realised they had a voice. And so it wasn't just, I give you some feedback and you do nothing with it. We actually worked together. We said best idea wins every time. So you bring ideas. If the only ideas on the table is mine, it has to win. But if there's others on that table, it doesn't matter who brought the idea. The idea matters more than the person, and that idea wins. So when is the voice heard in your ministry? When do people at all levels speak to you about what's going on and what they see and observe? Because they've got vital information that you need. Every owner needs a leader who sees. A leader who says, thank you for serving. A leader who sees those moments like I showed that leader with Eva with her little girl. You need to be able to have someone who sees what you do. If you feel like you're invisible, you start acting like you're invisible. And then you start acting as if what you do doesn't matter when it really does. If a leader is so busy getting stuff ready, getting organised, you don't see your volunteer team, you are going to breed renters every single time. You need to have the space to get your eyes above and look over, and your role on that day is to encourage those who are serving. Now, if you have to do that and large group teach, have everything ready, and then watch over your team, Do what you need to do. Watch over your team. I saw in our ministry, it was only a couple of weeks ago, one of my key leaders in the room was on his phone during the small group time. And I go, hey, what's up? What you doing? Looking up something in the Bible? Oh, no. They're all in small groups. They're fine. I go, you're missing the point. Get your eyes over what's going on. Spot things that are great. Spot things that we can help improve. Spot development issues that we need to be aware of. Be there for those who are leading. You're not sitting back at this point. This is your A game. And he goes, oh, well, okay, I hadn't thought about it like this. But every owner needs a leader who sees. And I don't know whether it's how much your senior pastors integrate with youth ministry or with your kids ministry. Invite them to come in and have a look. Now, even if it's at a time when the service is going on, they can roll video while he comes in or she comes and looks. Now, work out a way they can come visit, but don't let them loose in the place by themselves. I let Dale loose one day, and he was in when the kids were doing worship, and he thought, oh, I'll try doing this. And I was just behind him going, oh, but one of the kids said, Pastor Dale, don't dance. And I go, you said it, kid. But I actually needed to be there to show Dale, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that, because he won't know what to look at. It's like you're looking at the horizon and me going, wow, look at that. And you're going, yeah, it's a great horizon. I go, no, I'm talking about the boat there. Help them see. So you need a leader who sees. You need your senior leadership, your eldership, whatever you have, and I should actually know that, sorry. But you see those who are over you, help them see what you see, invite them into that space, and keep inviting them, even when they say no. Keep inviting them, because it does wonders to the leaders who are serving. In fact, Dale did an incredible job. Whenever he saw anyone wearing an orange t-shirt, he'd go, thank you for serving our kids today. Thank you for making a difference in the families today. Even though he didn't see them in the room, every time they had their t-shirt on, he would actually say that. And I actually knew then that our team became more like owners because their senior pastor saw. And it's just one of those things of being seen about what you're doing. We don't do it to be seen, but it helps. People will never think like owners unless we give them something to own. So think about that. Here's your volunteer. I want you to think of the name of one volunteer, and it might be you. And what will you own? If you're the Big L leader, think about a volunteer who serves with you, and what are you going to give away for them to own? You don't walk back, but you let them own it. If you are one of those leaders in the ministry, a volunteer, I want you to write down what you own. And you can always have the conversation, I would love to own this. I would love to do this. I will often ask young kids, what do you want to do in the church one day? If you could do anything, what would you do? And half of them would say, I want your job. I go, great. Here's what you need to be doing in the process. But actually, sometimes that vision casting really took them to that space of thinking, what could I do? What could I own? Oops, I'm just going to go back to that one. Yeah. So those are the things that we need to be owning as we move forward, not with renters in this space, but with people who are going to say, I want to give my best into here. I want to be solution orientated. I'm not going to ask you to fix that which I can do something about. I'm going to step in. I'm going to notice. I'm going to own this space, because who is in this space matters. Remember, context actually helps our content land in the right space. We need owners in our ministry, people that will say, this will cost me, but I'm prepared to pay the cost. When we see that narrative about Jesus and the rich young ruler, when he went away sad, that really just stands out for me. Jesus saw this. How hard is it, he said, for the rich to enter the kingdom of God? In fact, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. Those who heard it said, then who in this world can be saved? And he replied, what is impossible for people is possible with God. And this is what I think. So often we say it's impossible to get people where we need them to go, but it's actually possible with God. And the riches that he was talking about are not the financial riches. For us, it's a richness of seeing young people own their own faith. If we're renters, they will rent our faith. They have what we call a borrowed faith. They'll borrow that faith from everybody, but it won't be their own. The moment they come to that point of realising that God's writing a story in me and through me, that changes the way they see God. It changes the way they see others. And it changes the way they live life. And that's the transformation we're after. As young people take the pen of their faith and they start writing that story with God, they have a story to tell. But we'll only get to that place if we are owners in our ministry and we're calling others to stop renting and invest, because the future matters.